Ladies and gentlemen, I would remind you, please, at this time, if you have cell phones in your pockets or purses, please take this opportunity to silence them so they don't disturb the family during the service. Thank you. Please be seated.
מזמור לדוד. אדוני ראוי לא אחסר, ביני אודה שירביצני, על מי מנוחות, על מי מנוחות ינעלני. נפשי שובב ינחני במגלי צדק, ינחני במגלי צדק, למען שמו. גם כי אלך בגיא צלמוות, לא יירא רע, כי אתה עמדי. שבטך ומשענתך המה ינחמוני. תערוך לפני, לפני שולחן, נגד צוררי. דין שונתה והשמן ראשי, כוסי רוויה. אך טוב וחסד ירדפוני כל ימי חיי. ושבתי בבית אדוני ליורך, ליורך, ליורך יומי.
I would like to begin with two prayers. The first one's for Jill and Evan. The second one's for the rest of us. These are not ancient prayers from our distant past. The first was written by Rabbi Naomi Levy. The second I adapted from a poem by Elizabeth Dent. First, a prayer for Jill and Evan. It hurts too much, God. I can't bear it. I don't know how to go on, how to make it through each day. I want to scream. I don't know how to fit in, how to mourn politely and gracefully. People keep telling me to be strong, but there is nothing left of me. The best of me is dead. Everything I do feels false. Every conversation is empty and forced. I keep repeating to myself, why? My heart is in ruins. I remember a time of laughter and love and music and hope, but death came and destroyed all that and left me a ravaged survivor. Help me, God. Give me strength. Ease my suffering. Show me how to live in this world when my soul lies in the grave with my son. Heal my heart, which seems forever broken. Stay with me, God. Don't leave me. Hear my prayer, God. I entrust my child to you, God. Take care of him. Watch over him. Protect him. Spread your peace over him. Shelter him with gentleness and love as I would have. Guard him until the day when I find myself beside him once more. Hear me, God. Heal me, God. Amen. And now prayer for the rest of us. Go ahead and mention my child, the one who died, you know. Don't worry about hurting me further. The depth of my pain cannot be made worse by anything you might say. It is your silence that wounds me. Don't worry about making me cry. I'm already crying inside. Help me to heal by crying with me, by helping me release the tears that I try to hide. Please don't ask me how I am doing, for even if I say pretty good or fine, you must know that will not be true. So don't speak to me about my pain. Speak to me about my son, so that I'll know he's not lost, but still mine. A child who loses a parent is called an orphan. A wife who loses a husband is called a widow. A husband who loses a wife is called a widower. When a parent loses a child, there's no name for that, because no words can describe the pain. Jill and Evan, I will not offer many words of comfort, because I know you are not ready to hear them. But when you are, and you have to believe me, you will be. Then, when you are ready to hear, I will tell you how we all love you so much and want to be there for you, to hold you and help wipe away the tears. I will not offer any sage words of wisdom, because anyone claiming to have powers to explain such a tragedy is being less than honest. There is no explanation within the grasp of humanity. Why did God do this to you? Take your son. I don't believe God did this. I believe that God is crying with you. I continue to believe in God's infinite wisdom, if not his infinite power. I still believe in the plan of the universe and in the giver of life, who still sustains life and goodness despite such moments of inexplicable tragedy. I want to tell you that the despair will not last forever, and with courage, hope and life and joy and even laughter will one day return. That is what I want to tell you, but not now. You are not ready to hear it now. But it is true. And we will be there for you when that day comes as well. It's hard enough to accept death that comes after a full measure of years of fulfillment, growth into adulthood, or perhaps even when death comes after a long illness and brings peace and release. But how can we possibly justify the death of a young man who had just begun to taste from the cup of life, whose intelligence and talent and warmth gave you every hope of seeing him grow into manhood and doing good things in the world? When a life is so full of promise, when that is whisked out from under us, we mortals can only stand in agony and grief and let our tears express our dismay. So if these are all the things that I cannot say, what words do I have to offer you now? None. Today we do not offer words. Rather, we offer our hearts and our love. We too are in shock. We too are grieved. And perhaps just by being together in our common shock and grief, we will find some strength together in each other. Maybe with our love sincerely offered and graciously accepted, we will keep alive in some small measure a faith in the universe and a trust in God. The Bible told that when King David's son became desperately ill, he fasted and prayed and wore sackcloth and ashes. After a period of time, his child died, and his servants were afraid to tell him. If he grieved and fasted and prayed and spoke to no one while the child was alive, what will he do now? But David saw their faces and knew himself without being told. And when he realized that his son had died, he took off his sackcloth, he washed and dressed and sat down to eat, ending his fast. His servants were amazed and asked him, "What are you doing? While the child was alive, you fasted and wept, and now that he's died, you eat and drink?" And David answered, "While the child was still alive, I fasted and wept, for I thought, who knows whether the Lord will be gracious to me and the child will live. But now he is dead. Why should I fast? Can I bring him back? I shall go to him, but he will not return to me." We, like King David, know this feeling of helplessness. We too are helpless in turning back the clock to just before Sunday. There is nothing we can do, as much as we would like to somehow pretend that this did not happen. So what can we do? We can remember pleasant hours spent with Andrew, the joy and light he gave, and the life he radiated. To remember not how he did die, but how he did live, and how he did give, and the joy that he brought to so many. I want to call on Andrew's father. I want to call on Evan to share some words at this time of parting. Evan?
Thank you all for coming. Some of you have known me since we were in nursery school. Some were at my bar mitzvah. Some at Jill and my wedding for the birth of my Andrew and all of your children. We spent many a weekend at Sackett Lake. That was something Andrew had a superpower. That was something Andrew never forgot, even after all these years. That was just something. Andrew had a superpower. He remembered everything, every word in songs, who sang them, when I say songs, everything from the Beatles to the Dead to the Eagles. He recently said to me, "Dad, you can't just listen to Yes. The Dead, Crosby, Stills, and Nash. And I said, oh, yes, I can. Right, Ronnie, Rec? Andrew said, I have to listen to Nirvana. I said, no, that's okay, I'm good. 2 weeks later, he calls me to say, Dad, the Yes album, 90210, was so good. How have I not listened to this before? I said, well, I'm sorry. I said, I still have not listened to, how have I not listened to this before? I said, well, I still haven't listened to Nirvana, and I told you I'm not going to. Andrew and I also shared a love of WrestleMania. We called it our holiday. And the night before he died, we were texting all night long during the show. He sounded so happy. I could tell. We had a code. For instance, when the song Scarlet Begonias would come on, and either one of us were listening to it, we would text each other, strangers stopping strangers. And if Andrew was in a bad mood, he would just send an emoji of shaking hands. But if he was in a good mood, he would actually write out just to shake your hand. We would always disagree, okay, we would argue, what the Mount Rushmore of the WWE was. It was fitting that The Undertaker entered the Hall of Fame this weekend. Taker was always on Andrew's list, and now Andrew can rest in peace. This is just one side of my baby. He was also brilliant. I remember the day that Jake and Mac were in our kitchen and Andrew opened the acceptance letter from Emory. Everyone told him he couldn't get in, but once he wanted something, nothing would stop him. He loved to debate with my father. He loved to talk to him about the teacher strike of 1967. He loved to hear stories. Andrew would ask questions and wonder, Grandpa, why can't you remember? And Grandpa would say, sorry, not everyone remembers everything like you do. And that brings me to my family, which has always been so important to Andrew. His uncles, aunts, great aunt and uncle, cousins, one of whom he will never meet. He would have loved Ian. I know he would have. I know we all will. His wish to me every day is for Morgan to get better. We love you, Morgan. Even though life has been tough on Grandma Ruth, Andrew loved her. He took care of her more than a teenager ever should have. He loved his grandparents so much. He would make jokes with his Grandma Helen, basically to get her to buy him something, which she always did. When we moved to the Herricks district and Jill put Andrew into a sports class at the JCC, who knew this would be a new chapter of friendships for us? No offense to any of my New City or Rockland crew, but we met the best friends anyone could have hoped for. Michael and Rebecca, you become our family, our travel partners, and Andrew loved your whole family so much. So do we. Rebecca, you're always my rock, my breakfast mate, and Michael, you're my dinner and my wine buddy and my best friend. I could not have survived without you. Andrew loved all of our friends. I can't list all of you, but here's just a few. The Rosenbergs, he loved your boys and would do anything for Corey and Dylan and Kyle. Dave Dubner, he wanted to be you, even when Josh would knock him in his jewels. Lance and Karen, Seth and Andrew will always be tied at the hip. The Bergmans and Dubowskis, you know how he felt about you. The Agolniks, Samantha and Dana, you guys were always in sync. And Peter, Andrew thought you were hysterical. To the life of me, I don't know why. And Debbie, you're always there for Jill and me. Jake, Zach, Morgan, Andrew treated you like brothers and sisters and sister. He was the most loyal person to a fault. We love you all and hope you will always and hope you know we will always be there for all of you. To Andrew's friends, some of which I have mentioned but need to again. Jake, Mac, Brala, get the you-know-what out of here. Julia, he loved you, and he loved you all. Keep in touch with all of you. Again, he kept in touch with all of you. Again, he was loyal. Which brings me to my second child, Karan. Our door is always open to you. You're always welcome and will always be part of this family, and we love you. This brings me to the most important person in the world now. Jill, I love you. I will do whatever I can in my power to get us through this. I cannot stress it again. I love you, and so did Andrew. He loved you to the end of the galaxy and back. He was Mama's little monkey, and he always will be. Back to wrestling, and I know I'm almost done. I've gone on too long. The second night of WrestleMania, Triple H, who is on my Mount Rushmore, hung his boots up in retirement. So we got two legends retiring, and now my Andrew has hung his boots up. However, and New City for life with Ewags will never let his boots go away. Thank you.
Thank you, Evan. We say words that come from the heart enter into the heart. Andrew was keenly sensitive to the topic of death. I remember sitting in my office some 7 years ago in preparation for his bar mitzvah. And even then, he felt the need to talk to me, engage me in a discussion of life and death. He was still mourning the loss of his cousin Ashley, who had tragically died 2 years earlier on her 12th birthday, Zichrona Lavracha. And I remember how Andrew wrestled to understand from one 12-year-old to another, how was such a thing possible? How could the world tolerate such a thing? And here we sit 7 years later, and I still don't know what to tell you, Andrew. Andrew was bright and witty. He could talk to anyone about anything. It did not matter if you were 19 years old or 70 years old. He was engaging and entertaining. By all measures, he was bright and competent and handsome. Of course, that's not how he thought about himself. He struggled to see the Andrew that was so apparent to the rest of us. When a child dies, the obligated mourners are his parents. But the circle of grief extends so far beyond that. To his grandparents, Steve and Helen Wagner and Ruth Asman, great aunt and uncle Ellen and Larry Shapiro, who were like extra grandparents to him. There are so many of you that he cared about, and Evan really spoke about many of you, and if I only repeat the names, I'm going to leave somebody out and offend them. But, you know, Evan, there are two people that you did leave out from your list, and that is you and Jill. You were everything to Andrew, as he was everything to you. And I will not say more about that because I know the pain my words would cause you. And I do not want to add to your pain this morning. But you know, and we certainly know, how much you loved him more than life itself, and how much he loved you. A little boy looked up and asked his mother why she was lighting the Shabbat candles. The mother replied, "I light to banish the darkness, to bring light and warmth and kindness into the world." The little boy thought for a second, and then he said, "But the candle will burn out, and the darkness will return." "Yes," smiled the mother, "the candle will burn out. That is what candles do. They burn brightly, and then they burn out." "So then why do you light the candle?" asked the little boy. "To banish the darkness for a while, to bring light into the world for a while, to make the world a warmer place and to increase the kindness, if only for a while. That," said the mother to the little boy, "is why we light the candle. Though it burns for only a short while it burns brightly and brings light and warmth and kindness to the world." Andrew's life has come to an end, but his light endures, his message continues, his example survives. O God, who dost bring thy children out of the darkness and the shadow of death, we thank thee for the life of Andrew Wagner, in whose friendship we were blessed, by whose understanding we were guided, and in whose tenderness we were healed. May the sureness of his nearness to us banish loneliness from our hearts, and the sureness of his nearness to thee, O God, quiet our anxious spirit. Be with those who most poignantly and most painfully feel the pangs of this hour, with his parents, with all his family and friends. Comfort and strengthen their hearts, guide and direct their lives, help them to know that deeper than the pains, the frustration, and even the mystery of death are your everlasting arms of love and mercy. Grant them steadfastness of purpose, faith in thee, and courage to face life. Give them the wisdom to say with understanding the ancient words of submission and resignation, perhaps the wisest words could be said at an hour such as this. Adonai natan v'Adonai lakach, yehi shem Adonai mevarach. Lord, you have given, and now you have called unto yourself. We praise thee, O God, for the courage to make our broken hearts an altar before which we may acknowledge thy sovereignty and love. May thy name be praised now and forevermore. And let us say, Amen. Would you please rise for the memorial prayer?
El malei rachamim, shochen bamromim, ametzei menucha nechona, tachat kanefei ashchina, במעלות קדושים וטהורים כזוהר הרקיע מסעירים לנשמת אברהם בן ישראל ויתקן שהלך לעולמו בגן עדן תהי מנוחתו. לכן בל הרחמים הסתירהו בסתר כנפיך לעולמים, וצרור ביצור לחיים את נשמתו. אדוני הוא נחלתו, וינוח בשלום על משכבו. ונאמר אמן.
O God, exalted and full of compassion, grant perfect peace in your sheltering presence among the holy and pure, to the soul of Andrew Wagner, who has gone to his eternal home. Master of mercy, we beseech you, remember all the worthy and the righteous deeds that he performed in the land of the living. May his soul be bound up in the bond of life. The Lord is his portion. May he now rest in peace. And let us say, Amen. Interment will be immediately following at the Beth Moses Cemetery. The family will then be observing Shiva at their home, 131 Serpentine Lane in Albertson. Shiva will be observed following the cemetery today until 9 p.m., tomorrow 2 till 6, and then again on Sunday from 2 till 7. We ask that you please remain in your seats until the family has departed from the sanctuary. And as they depart, we'll be playing one of Andrew's favorite songs.
In restless dreams I walk.